The world around us is hostile to the Word of God and to biblical values, but we are called to be salt and light, to stand for truth in a decaying culture. We are not called to run from the fire, but be willing to step into the fire. God has placed you at this time in history on purpose and for a purpose. Join us as we get better equipped to address civics and culture from a biblical worldview. Welcome to Into the Fire, powered by Dream City Church. Let's welcome our hosts Allison Furno and Debi Vandenboom.
Today's topic is winning the war on women, and we have with us our special guest, Kristie Sexton. Thank you for joining us today.
So glad to be here.
Yeah, and so Kristie, you are the women's ministry director or leader, I'm not sure what the actual title is, of all the campuses at Dream City, correct?
Yes, it's been about a month, and things are rolling in just a month. And so, directing the women's ministry at 3 different campuses and empowering women. It's an exciting time to be in ministry.
That's wonderful. Can you just introduce yourself to us and tell us a little bit about you, your family?
So I'm a Barnett, Kristie Barnett Sexton, and grew up in the church and love the church, believe in the church. I have 3 children, 35, 34, and 33. We didn't watch much TV. We just had children. And I have 3 grandchildren, and I've been married almost 37 years.
Wow.
But the church world has been a big part of my life since birth. And I can say one thing my parents did really well is get us in the right room, get us in the right environment consistently. And that really stuck for me and my brothers.
That's wonderful. Yeah.
Well, I have to say I was ecstatic when I was sitting in church a few weeks ago, and that was the announcement made that you're taking it over. So I'm very excited.
Oh, thank you.
So you've been in church your whole life and doing outreach, but how did you kind of get into this new role as women's ministry director?
So many of people know me at the church for Stop Traffic Walk, raising awareness and funds for human trafficking. But ministry's been a part of my life since I was a little kid. When I was 11 years old, my dad said, "You're going to start a bus route." And what that meant was I would go and pick up little kids and bring them to church. A lot of times these little kids, their parents didn't even know that they were on the bus because they were hungover or they were strung out on drugs. And we would bring the kids to church and give them shoes. We had a boom box. That's what we call it. I know I'm outdated. I don't even know what it's called now. But we had a boom box in the bus, and we played music, and we gave them all kinds of food and snacks, took them home. Parents didn't even know they were gone. That really changed my life, I think. Having a bus route really made me understand that people I live very differently than most of the world. And I didn't have those experiments in my house. And so for me, that was life-changing, knowing that there's a whole world out there that needs us to come alongside of them. And I think that's one of the reasons why when I was asked to join up with Dream City for women's ministry, I was excited to do that because I have a story. My life hasn't always been easy. I think people look at people in ministry and think, oh my gosh, they don't have everyday real life problems. And that's one of the sad things, I think, that people look at people up on the stage and think that we are exempt from hard.
Right. Yes.
All of us have hard. And I've had my share of hard. And I think I stepped into women's ministry now really with a story to tell and to come alongside women in their hard. Yeah. And we've been talking a lot about that. And I've really linked arms with some women that have said, I'm tired of hiding. I'm tired of shame. I'm tired of going through this alone. In the last month, I've had more women that I'm walking along their journey and their pain and saying, look, life's hard. We're all going to have hard, but let's do it together.
Yeah,
so good.
I think that's amazing. I love that. Yeah.
So good.
Yeah.
When we were talking previously, I know you mentioned the 5 pillars that God had downloaded on your heart. It was connect, grow, heal, move, and go. Can you share with us kind of where those came from and maybe your vision for each pillar's purpose?
So these all came out of my last 15-year life journey. The last 15 years of my life have been really a struggle. We've had a lot of addiction in our family and something I did not see coming. And my husband has really been bound in alcoholism, and it's really been hard. And I'm a Jesus girl. I'm a church girl. And I know not to isolate. I know to connect. But when it happens in your world and your sitting out there thinking, I'm Tommy Barnett's daughter. How am I dealing with this?
Right.
I started to isolate. I stopped going to church a little bit. I was kind of being a little naughty and just kind of withdrawing. And I was functioning really well with my family, but I was a depressed functioning person because I didn't have a team of people around me. I was just hiding. And so these 5 pillars really came out of my 15-year journey. And some of the things that I did wrong and some of the things I want to help women that are struggling. Don't do what I did. This is what I did. I want to tell my story. So the first one is connect. And connect is all about us doing life together, being friends. We have coffee talk events once a month that are just for us to love on each other and know each other, not a Bible study event. We have quarterly events where women can come for a night of worship, a service, a themed night, all targeted towards women for us to connect. Connection is so important. I always say that isolation kills, community heals. And we've got to get back to that because of COVID, because of all the life experiences. We've isolated. And we've tucked ourselves away, and that's not healthy. The second one is grow, and that's our Bible study. And that's where we connect with Bible study leaders. We go deeper in our walk with God. The third one is probably my favorite. It's called Heal. And Heal is where we are going to dive into the heavy topics, like women dealing with family with addiction. Let's tackle that. How many women are sitting in our sanctuary, isolated, afraid to say, my family has addiction? I'm not hiding behind that anymore. Let's talk into the fact that 40% of women sitting in our sanctuary right now are dealing with porn. I did not know that. That's a new statistic. We've got some work to do when it comes to heal.
40% have had an abortion.
Right.
Yes. And 40% of those women are hiding in shame and they're beating themselves up. No more. So many of us need to walk alongside of what we've come out of and help the other people on the other side. So
well, just before you go on from that, I just want to say I love it because I think it's such a target of the enemy to attack you and then try to isolate you, right, and keep you from sharing and getting that healing. He wants us to hide because that's where he reigns, is in darkness. And so if the darkness is in control, then he has control, right? But if we bring it into the light and we share with others and we talk and we allow God to heal it, then that's where liberation, where freedom comes from. But so I love that. I love that part of it. I just wanted to kind of add that.
Yeah, I'm so glad you did, because when you think about elephants, if you don't know, they herd up together. They protect their own. They're a very tight community. But if one goes away, the lion's going to strike the one that's away from the herd. Right. Well, that's what was happening to me. And I believe that's what's happening to so many women since there's been an attack in our world on women. What is a woman? No one can say what a woman is. We have been attacked. When it comes to abortion, when it comes to everything, women are under attack. And I feel like it's time for us to come together and huddle up, herd up like the elephants do, and protect each other.
Yeah, I love that. And I'll save what I was going to say for later, but go ahead and do the other
Okay, so
two.
the other one, Heal. I feel like Heal is going to take off into so many areas. Depression, anxiety, it's going to grow, and it's really going to make us strong, an army of women that are fighting for each other, and I love that. And then the next one is Move. So every week we have a boot camp at our church where we teach women how to exercise, and fitness is such a big part of the healing journey. Moving your body, sweating, getting all the anxiety out. We have a great time at our boot camps on Saturday mornings here at the Phoenix campus. And then Go is one of my favorites too, because it's all about outreach. If we grow, connect, heal, move, but we never go into the world and invite our friends and families to church or serve our community, which we're going to do a lot of community events and helping people in our community thrive through generosity, getting people down to our Phoenix Treatment Center. These girls need mentors. They need people to come alongside of them, coming out of the life of human trafficking. There are so many ways to serve. So I think Go is easiest way for us to get out of ourself. My dad always says, get a cause that causes you to get out of yourself into a greater self that causes you to forget yourself.
Right.
And I think sometimes we need to forget the crud in our life and go serve somebody else.
We 100% do. And I was just sitting there as you were talking. I'm like, okay, that's me. I don't know if you probably don't know this, but I got saved in this church, right? So I was an adult. I was 24 and I was unchurched and came in here and never left. And one of the very first things that I did was start serving. And I think the serving and the healing go together too. And it's also something that I'm pretty sure your dad has said about that, like a stagnant water gets gross, right? If it sits, it gets gross, but if it's a conduit and it's like a pipe where the water's going through, that is more powerful and it helps like clean, it's cleaner water, right?
That's so good.
So when we are serving, then it's like the Holy Spirit can go through us and we end up getting healed along the way when we're not just sitting thinking about our own issues because they're not going anywhere.
Right.
They're not going anywhere. But I mean, until the Lord heals us, but that as we're walking and as we're serving other people, it shifts our perspective, which is something you said earlier. And I think that's a really big deal because I've spent a lot of time as well, and so has Sam, ministering to people who have nothing and who, I've gone into a duplex with someone, 8 people living there with a baby in one bedroom, right? I've seen a lot of hurt and poverty and addiction and all those things. And so it helps us to have a perspective of where our life is, and then also allows the Holy Spirit to flow through us. And it's funny that the way that God works, where sometimes all of a sudden things are not like you've gotten healed of something and didn't even realize it.
Right.
You know what I mean? As you're serving and as you're going and spending time with the Lord.
It's funny that you say that because I would go down to the Dream Center and I would serve once a week and I was hurting so bad. But when I would turn down that street that led to the Dream Center and I saw all the hurting people, I thought, my life is not that bad. I am not going out of a trash can, pushing a cart. And I thought, oh, God, help me. Help me, God, not to be so self-centered that I think I'm the only one suffering, that I think I'm the only one going through something. Right. And, everyone's like, oh, you're just blessing those girls down there. I'm like, no, they're inspiring me.
Right. Yes. Really and truly. I agree with that. I mean, all of the years that I've spent helping young moms, helping women, it's more of a blessing to me, honestly, than it's been. It really is. And it's hard to explain to people who don't until they go out and do that themselves. It's really difficult for people, I think, to understand how much of a blessing it really is to serve. Yeah, I mean, Sam's agreeing because you've spent a lot of time.
Yes, so good. Down at the Dream Center, it gets your eyes off of yourself, right? And like your own problems and kind of dwelling on me, this, I'm so sad, nobody cares about me.
I've been there, so pathetic.
Right, I've been there too. I mean, it's a battle.
Right, it is.
And, but then when you're serving, you're looking outward, right? And I just, like we said, we get back more than we give, honestly, at the end of the day. So, which is just, I love it. So I love outreach, which is why I love this church.
Yeah.
Yes, but that was so good. So I was like, we went through, the 5 pillars, and we were talking about a little bit of the culture war going on right now, selling of abortion, the girl boss mentality, along with the high rates of mental health issues, which have now infiltrated the church. And when I'm saying church, I mean like Big C church, to where the statistics we were talking about are the same in the church as they are in culture. So what are some things that people, hopefully this won't just apply to women, but that people can do who are starting to want to take a stand against this culture war in their day-to-day life to make an impact?
So we have the benefit of having a civics ministry here at our church, which most churches don't have. You can get involved You can find out. I'm telling you, Debi is such a blessing, because if I don't understand something or if I don't know something, like the voting thing, I was like, hey, I don't understand. You are such a blessing to this church and to the community. And it's such a rare thing that a church would stand up for what is happening. You know, I'm so proud that we did the Bible on the ballot at our church. And we talked about all the hard issues that were not being talked about. And many churches would not take a stand because they didn't want to lose followers. But we took a biblical stand on what the Bible says. And I truly believe that because of that, Arizona voted very differently because of the stand that we took. So I would say get involved. If your church isn't involved, come get involved with us, because we are leading the way. And I'm so proud of that.
Or start something at your church too.
Start something at your church.
And I think what you're saying is really important in that and it goes along with so many of the things that you listed here, right? You're talking about how women are sitting in the church and they're struggling in their families with addiction, with pornography, with abortion, with mental illness, with depression, all of these different things, self-harm, eating disorders. Like we just barely touched the surface when you're talking about in this heal. And so it's important that we are doing this has always been my heart, to have a two-pronged, right, where we're taking a stand. So if we're talking about abortion, right, we're taking a stand and making sure that we're trying to protect the laws and raise awareness on what laws are. That was the one thing that did not bode well for us in the election, was that horrendous proposition passed that legalized abortion. But standing firm on those laws, but also at the same time helping the young single moms, helping girls who get pregnant when they're 16, 17, helping women who've had an abortion and are sitting not knowing what to do and who to talk to about that. Same goes with pornography. You know, we need to try to protect it from our schools, but we also need to help people that are struggling with it. So this is where the church can really, you know, we can educate people on the legal side of it and the legislative side of it, but then we're also able to help heal it, bring that healing and make a difference in those areas.
Well, you know, I think for a long time, the church has been silent about mental health. I think for a long time, don't anybody admit that you're a Christian and you struggle with depression or you struggle with anxiety or you have fear. Just trust God. Just trust God. Well, okay. Sometimes that's really easy to say. We're humans, right? And the Bible says, in this world, you will have tribulation. We're going to have trouble. Right. You're going to have hard. You're going to have hard. I'm going to have hard. It's inevitable. So instead of hiding behind the fact, well, I'm a Christian and I shouldn't say that I'm struggling with this or I shouldn't be able to, no, let's put down all the walls. And let's just say, we've been through a lot of you-know-what in the last 4 or 5 years. And this world has shifted. The kids, schooling, COVID, work, identity for women. We have been through a lot. Let's put down the walls and let's start the healing begin. Let's be open about it. Let's talk about it. Let's journey together. You know, I keep saying, but isolation kills, community heals. We come together, we share. You don't have to air all your dirty laundry.
Right.
But you can say, I'm hurting. Does anybody, just today, I went to a Bible study, introduced my 5 pillars. One of the leaders, who is an amazing girl, texted me, who I would have never thought was dealing with something. Thank you for sharing about heal. She said, I'm hurting. I'm digging myself out of this pit and nobody knows. Will you tell me your story so I can tell you my story? I felt so proud that I added heal. I knew that my story had to come out so that other people felt vulnerable enough. If I can come out, being the pastor's daughter, you can come out.
I think that's so good. And it's so important. And it is
Powerful.
true. It is very powerful. It is. Because you're right. I mean, we're not immune. I mean, the Bible talks about that we are going to face trials and tribulations. We're not immune to it. So there's two sides of it. I mean, we've got, you know, the enemy is after us anyway, right? We already know that, and we're not immune because we live in a fallen world. We're not immune from those things. And then also, I think you said something earlier about how so much of the world has crept into the church, right?
Yeah.
I do feel like this, where you're talking about grow, I think that's a big part of it too, in that we need to have those deeper roots and have this, you know, stronger prayer life and the Bible reading, so that when that stuff does hit, right, because it will hit, things do happen.
Yes.
I mean, I've dealt with that kind of thing in my life too, and had years, multiple years in a row where I was just dying and nobody knew, right? I mean, I'm serving, I'm doing all this stuff and nobody knew how much was going on just in my mind and my heart and all that things that we were dealing with in our family. Excuse me. And so all of that to say that, you know, you've got two sides of it, that it's like you've got to have that strong relationship with the Lord so that you can be ready when those storms hit to know where to turn, right? And to know how to do that. And then again, even if you do know, you were saying you knew, right? But it was still hard. It's still hard when things hit you unexpectedly to do that. And I think that that's so important. And you have such a great, like you said, having grown up as a Barnett, right? I mean, that's quite a big high profile thing, right? To be a Barnett.
Yeah. And, you know, I was thinking this morning, you know, social media really sets us up to fail.
Yes.
And when you think about growing up, I didn't have social media. I didn't know what anybody else was doing.
Right.
And I think so many times we think, oh, I have to have the perfect Bible, coffee, candle in the morning, and, you know, have the whole Instagram post that, you know, me and Jesus, we're getting it. Let's be honest. We wake up sometimes and we've got to just get it done.
Right.
So what I have done to heal is I've gotten my sneakers, my headphones, my podcast, and I've taken off on a 5-mile walk every day to have that time. Now, you may not have time to do that, but you have 2 minutes.
Right.
2 minutes before this podcast, we prayed.
Yeah.
You have 2 minutes before you get to your car to say a prayer. It's those little moments that you plan for all day long. 2 minutes before you walk into work. 2 minutes before you get your kids. 2 minutes before your husband walks in the door. God, help me to be nice to that man. Whatever, whatever it takes. But like you have
Really
2 minutes.
Yeah.
And so I've turned the last year for my healing, because I was done doing it in my own strength. We do that. I have turned, when I get ready in the morning, into a classroom. I listen to podcasts, I listen to sermons, I listen to the Bible. When I go on my walk, when I'm on my way to the office, I listen to podcasts. I turn everything in those moments where I'm alone into a classroom to develop me. Because guess what? I can only fix me. And when I change, the dynamic of the whole family changes.
Right.
And so I just want to encourage the world that we're living in today when it comes to civics, when it comes to the war on women, when it comes to what we're facing as women. I mean, nobody has challenged us more than the last couple of years about the attack on women in sports and everything. Turn your life into a classroom. Get away from Instagram, social media, what the world is saying, and get into your own classroom, build yourself, go back to your values that are important. I really believe that that's how women are going to shift back into really the women that God created us to be, really an audience of one, Him.
Yes.
Not what the world says, not what they're trying to push us into, but an audience of one, and that is our time with Him.
Yeah. Well, and I think there's so much pressure on women today. I mean, there's obviously pressure on everybody, right? Pressure on kids, pressure on men. But I feel like it's shifted over the years because, and I don't know, I think it probably was the 40s when all the women went into the factories. I mean, kind of that's when it shifted to where more and more women were outside of the home rather than in the home, which I'm not against that. No. I work, right? There's a lot of people who have to work, whether you choose to work or go to school or whatever. But the point is that we're supposed to be fully educated, fully employed, have all the kids, keep the homesteading, do the
sourdough bread,
bake sourdough bread, keep a Pinterest perfect home, and look perfect, right? I mean,
all the time,
no pressure, right? So that's an unrealistic thing. You have to have the right priorities, and it's going to look different for everybody. It's going to look different for different seasons.
Right.
You were talking about having time to go on a walk for an hour.
Yeah.
I will never forget. It was actually Sharon Friend that told me I was so frustrated when I was like the one who wanted to be a mom my entire life. All I wanted was kids. But I'd had all this alone time with the Lord when I first got saved. And then I had kids. And it was like, you never have 5 seconds to yourself, right?
Can't even go to the bathroom by yourself.
You cannot go to the bathroom by yourself. I would not trade it for the world.
Nope.
But it was really tough to find that time with the Lord, what you were talking about. And I will never forget, she told me, she's like, the Bible talks about praying without ceasing. She's like, so you just pray throughout what you were saying, the 2 minutes, pray throughout your day. You're folding baby socks, you're washing a dish, you're praying while you're doing that. And having that now, that was before podcasts were a thing, so I probably would have been listening to those too. But you can do that throughout the day. We're driving, and it's like, okay, Lord, help me get a close parking spot, because I do not want to schlep all these kids up to the whatever. Like, you're praying throughout the day and just having this internal conversation with the Lord throughout your entire day. And I think that's really critical. It is, because it helps you to keep those priorities.
Absolutely.
Because we cannot do all of those things.
Yeah, and I would say as women, know where you're getting your information, because I want to know who wrote the list that we have to do everything that we see on social media. Like we were saying, you have to bake the sourdough. Now you got to be a gardener. Oh my Lord, I can't even keep my fake plants looking good. I mean, you've got to, your kid has to go to this school or that school, or they have to get into this college. Who wrote the list?
Right.
Like, it's exhausting, the endless things that they're asking women to do. And if that's what you want to do, that's wonderful. But at the end of the day, are we trying, is our dream really from God, or is it really to please the world?
Right. That's so good.
Because the world will throw everything at you, and you'll never add up, and you'll never be enough. But get in touch with your source. Yes. And you will have nothing left to take care of you. Right. And if you don't take care of you, you can't take care of the rest of your family. And so I'm just tired of the list. The list really bothers me, because it wasn't given to us from God, because he didn't put all that on us. It's what the world is saying we have to be.
Well, and we all have a different list too. I mean, like, you know what I'm saying? We all, that's the body of Christ. We're all called to be different things and different seasons. What my life looked like 20 years ago when I had 4 little kids at home is different now than they're all grown up, right? So those seasons change, and what you can do at certain times before you get married, after you get married, when you have little kids, all the different things. There's seasons in life too where you have different priorities and your own list that God gives you, right? Not your God-given list, not the world's list, but Do you have anything you want to?
No, I just thought of something that we always say is like, not everybody can't do everything, but everybody can do something. And so building that just into your routine becomes a habit. And then I like to think of it kind of, because I'm a school nerd, like studying for an exam. If I didn't study or practice or do anything, even if you were in sports practice, same thing, how did I expect to be ready when the battle came, right? Like, I wouldn't know what to do. So talking to the Lord when I can, reading my Bible, like, it might not be the same for everybody every day. My schedule looks different, but writing it on your heart so that you know when the battle comes is so important. So
that you're operating out of the right list. I do think I love that. I think that's really a big.
Well, when you think about people that train for the Olympics, like, I love watching the Olympics. They spend their whole life getting ready for that one moment. Right. That one moment in time. Everything's riding on it. Shouldn't we be living our lives that way? Right. Getting our lives prepared for when those moments come, that we're ready, that we're sharp, that we can handle it. Because I think when those moments take us and take our breath away, when the kid comes in and says, I've messed up, or the daughter comes in and says, I'm pregnant, or the husband all of a sudden finds himself in it, are we ready for those life moments? And I think, like a champion prepares for those life moments, we can prepare the best we can for those life moments. And it's in those little menial things that we do every single day that set us up for success for when those come.
Yeah, that's so good. Yeah, I love that.
Awesome. Okay. Did you have anything else before? Okay. So if you are in the greater Phoenix area, how can people get involved in the women's ministry here, or find out more what's going on, when our events are, things like that?
So you can follow us on social media. I know I just talked about social media. This is the good side.
Social media,
this is the good side of social media. You can follow us on Facebook, and you can follow us on Instagram for Splendid Dream City. You can also go on the church website, and you can find all about the events that we're doing. And we've got a lot of great events coming up. And women's ministry is not a mom's group. This is for single girls. This is for married girls. This is for grandmas and great grandmas. This is for all all of us. We're all doing life together, just different seasons.
And I think that's an important element. I really do, because I mean, we were talking, so you and I are close in age, and we've both been through stuff. But I think that's important too. And I know that when I was younger, I always looked at the women who'd already raised their kids, who'd been in the church for a long time, who knew how to just fight in prayer and contend for their families and all of those things. And I think that's so valuable to have that mix. And then also, I mean, I help with fine arts and do stuff with, and that helps keep us young, right?
Yeah.
Yes.
When interacting with younger I think that intergenerational thing is such a big deal. It's so important, and I think it's missing a lot of the time. You know, you end up with churches that are just all, you know, young hipster age, which is great, like for the culture, but then it's missing an element.
Right.
Same thing with churches that get really old, and you've got, you know, the median age is 75, right? Okay, that might be a great thing for them. I mean, you know what I mean? Like they might enjoy that, but I think there's something missing when it's not the intergenerational.
Well, and it's biblical.
It is.
The older women are supposed to teach younger women. I'm supposed to teach you because I'm the
Yes.
older woman.
Yes.
But we have to all come together because these younger girls can teach us things that we don't even know.
Right.
And we can show them the way when hard times come. It's so important. And for so long, it was always, oh, that's the mom's group. No, this is the women's group, and we all look different, but we are all coming together as one.
Yes.
Well, and it is biblical with, you know, they all lived in tents at the same time, and you'd have generations that lived together.
I don't want to do that again, though.
No, I don't either. I'm not advocating for that either.
Well, the Lord put me in such a time as this for a reason.
We also had to harvest, you know, wheat and things, and I'm with you. I can't.
I don't want to bake sourdough, and I don't want to garden.
I killed a cactus, so
That's pretty hard to do.
I'm also one that can't keep an artificial plant alive, so I do understand.
Yes.
It's really bad. So I would not be good at like threshing wheat or doing any of those kind of things.
Me either.
Would not be good. You know, give me a Deborah mandate to go. You know, we were talking about
Go to battle.
right,
go to battle.
Go to battle.
I'll do that. Right, but I do think the intergenerational thing is a big
Very
deal.
important.
It's so important. I love that you're doing that. I think it's good, and I think that's something that in that isolation, right, we tend to stick with people our own age, and we miss out on a lot when you're not having older. You know, even women, you know, some of my favorite people in this church are in their 80s, right? And I go talk to them. I love doing that.
yes.
I love that. And then I also, you know, have relationships with teenagers that are in fine arts leading groups here and doing those kind of things. And I think it's great to have that intergenerational.
I agree.
Yeah. Yeah. Anything else you want to add about that?
I think I'm good. Yeah, I was like, it's so great.
I love it. Was that your last question?
Yeah, it was.
All right. Do you have anything else you want to add?
No, thank you so much for having me today. This has been great. You guys are a ball of energy and fire and doing great things, and it's exciting to see all that's happening here at Dream City, but in the world because of the civics ministry that you guys have led, and it's really made an impact. So proud of you girls.
Oh,
Thank you so
Appreciate
much.
that.
Yeah. Well, thank you so much for joining us on Into the Fire, powered by Dream City Church.
You can listen to this podcast on Apple and Spotify and follow us on social media. Find all the info on the show notes. To learn more about Dream City Church, visit our website at dreamcitychurch.us. Thanks for listening.